Okay, well, welcome to
Okay.
Yada Yada Boom. Hey, Robert, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kate? How's
I
everybody
am
out there?
doing, we are doing well. It's a little chilly today. I'm not gonna, like the sun is shining for the first time in a few days, but it is burr. So I'm like, do I wear a sweater today? Because it's been kind of summery, want to be, but
Well,
once
I'm
again, Illinois.
back. I just did Back to the Future. I went to Phoenix for business for 2 days. It was 90 some degrees. I say Back to the Future because they're at 1864 there now. So, with
Oh,
their laws.
yeah, they're a
So
little,
I
you gotta just put that little thing in. I love it.
yeah, it's like I was looking for a stagecoach instead of an Uber, but I didn't see one.
Oh, dear God. Anyway, so we are going to be talking about something you brought up called toxic masculinity. And that's kind of hard to say sometimes. Um, and I thought at first, I was like, what the heck am I going to talk about? Until I really just took a quick glimpse at what that really encompasses and like the definition and societally, how all of that kind of comes together. So, my questions to you are why did you want to talk about this and what did you want to bring up?
Well, this is one of the topics that I've wanted to dive deeper into for a while now, ever since I started podcasting like a year plus ago. Um, Being a man, I was raised, and I'm not going to say my parents. I think society raises, if you allow yourself to be influenced by society. Boys and men are raised a certain way, and I think a lot of what I consider masculine norms are by nature toxic, and that aggravates and pisses some people off. But I think a lot of what is considered masculine traits are toxic. Big boys don't cry, right?
Yes,
I
that's,
remember
yep.
being at football when your son plays football. My son
Yes.
my son played football for a few years, and I'd listen to the some of the other parents, screaming, "Take his head off, make him bleed, man up." And
Yeah.
I just cringe because they were all vicariously living through their kids. These were
Yes.
generally out of shape, not fit dudes. And it just always irked me. And I mean, that's 15, 17 years ago. Um, but I've always had the stigma like, you're not supposed to cry. And I find myself watching track and field videos and watching, an athlete have a breakthrough moment or a team have a breakthrough moment, like the women's 4x100 beating Jamaica, and I see the celebrations and the joy on all the ladies' face, or the German team that came in third in the World Championships, the women in the 4x1, and I'm like, I start tearing up out happiness. And right away, there's a pit inside me that says, "Well, you're not supposed to do that. You can't let anybody see
Oof.
you do that. You're a man. Men
Hmm.
don't cry." And I think it's just really bad because I I see every time I go to a conference, or a lot of the things I follow on LinkedIn say today's leader needs to have emotional intelligence and be more empathetic
Yes.
and have traits that a lot of men consider to be feminine.
Yes.
And so I just recoil at this concept of masculinity to its, I guess, to its most extreme degree. It's toxic.
I
So that's
think that
kind of
it
why I
is
wanted to bring
too.
it up.
I'm glad that you did because I really didn't understand what you were talking about when you first brought it up. And then I was like, okay, what does this mean and how does this relate to me? And it relates absolutely every place in my life. So looking at that, boys don't cry,
Right?
rub some mud on it, just get up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
suck it up, buttercup. That is teaching horrible things to your children. Like I have a son who is very sporty and active,
yep,
and I want him to know that when he's hurt, it's okay to release that emotion because you seriously, it hurts. It's okay to cry and release that emotion. It's a healthy way for your body to release whatever's going on. But he's in these sports, and you're listening to the parents, you're listening to the coaches, which is even more appalling that the coaches are saying the exact same thing. Like, we don't care. So
yeah,
that hurt, you knocked the wind out of yourself. We don't care, even though you can't breathe for a full minute and you're scared, instead of saying, hey, this happens sometimes. This is why. Let's calm it down. Let's like give them some really good skills versus the old way. I'm sure you grew up this way.
Yeah.
Real men don't cry.
Yeah. Well,
Doesn't matter that it hurt.
there's boys and, not necessarily boys, young men that have died on the football field because the coaches are pushing them to get out there and, run another lap or do another drill. And they're doing it in sweltering heat and pads, and they've died from dehydration. And there's this pressure to not be the one who says, "Hey, I need a break, coach," right?
Yeah, they can't
You don't
tap
want to
out.
be,
That shows weakness.
yeah, you're the P word, right? You know that
Yep.
word, I think.
Yep, I know the word.
And
It's got 5 letters.
yeah, so it's something that's bothered me because I grew up with, you don't wear a bracelet. That's feminine. You certainly don't have you don't have an earring, right?
Right.
Various physical attributes
Right.
that define masculinity or femininity. And
Yes.
there's something that I put up here on the screen. I'll probably show it on the screen here. I don't know how to do screen share on Zooms effectively, so and make it fancy for podcasts yet. But there's this punk named Andrew Tate. I don't know how well aware you are of him. He's, I think, an ex-MMA fighter. He's been arrested now for sexual assault. He's a horrible misogynist.
Yes.
Him and his brother were hiding out in, I think, Romania, and filming underage women having sex, and just an absolute punk. And he's got 8.5 million followers on X, Twitter. I'm going to call it Twitter. There's a reason for that. So he has 8.5 million followers as of December 23, and he is horrible. He's a punk. He shows off. He was attacking Greta Thunberg, the climate activist, young girl. Mm-hmm. He's showing off with all these Maseratis and all these cars he has, smoking cigars. I mean, physically, yeah, he could kick my ass into next week. But as far as I'm concerned, he's a fragile little weak punk. And I can't stand people like that. And the fact there's 8.5 million followers. And there was something I followed on LinkedIn, Kate, and I'll be able to find this and show it. I think it was also on Twitter. And a woman shared this post, which I think I also shared on Glass Ceiling. There was a woman, I think it was probably in India or an Arab country, maybe in the UK. I don't think it was in the US, but she was on a train, subway train, just dancing. You can see the joy in her face. She was dancing. Somebody took a picture and it was on her profile. And there was over 8,000 likes to this comment that this person put up. And it says, and they wonder why they get raped. This is toxic masculinity. And men that are abhorred by this need to stand up, need to speak up. And, I can't stand it when I talk like this. I just want to take metal baseball bats to these people, these men.
It's not going to help anything. Not going to help anything because
it would feel good in the moment.
But it's not the answer.
But yeah, so so that's one of the that's one of the reasons toxic masculinity is on my mind. Men still have this, are socialized and raised to kind of think that they have some sort of dominion over women's bodies. I mean, we see it in law.
Yeah,
we've talked about this on other episodes. We see it in law, but that you can't cry, you can't express weakness, all of that. The next group of leaders is going to be a hell of a lot more empathetic and really be able to relate to the people. And part of the reason I do this video casting is because I want to talk to my generation of business leaders as they're evolving their companies or handing their management responsibilities over to other people. I want them to hear this and really understand it, not just feel like, we have to do this because these Gen Zs and younger millennials want this, but really try to understand why. And yeah, it's like anything else we always talk about. You have to change yourself. You have to challenge yourself to get uncomfortable.
Yes,
so that's why
absolutely.
It's a big,
I think it's a really, really kind of a big deal. Well, it is just a big deal because we are teaching our youngsters now for that next generation of how to act. And if we keep taking all of these things that we've identified as not great traits to teach, we have to be in the trenches of starting to change it and really talk about it. And why is it that to be considered masculine, you have to have big muscles, or you have to be a certain height. You have to look a certain way. You can't wear jewelry. You can't take care of your skin.
Right.
Like your skin is the same as my skin. Put some lotion on it. My goodness, it gets dry. Taking care of yourself, saying that it's not masculine to go get a pedicure or a massage or anything along those. That's just self-care. That's
I
taking care of yourself.
I have to interrupt though. I don't like people messing with my feet.
Well, everybody's
I
thing.
I have
Okay,
a foot
fetish is real.
I have a foot fetish thing. I don't like people messing with
Don't
my
touch
feet.
my feet. Don't
Yeah,
look at my feet. Don't touch
it's
my feet. I don't
just
want to see your feet.
unnatural to me to want to put my feet out and have somebody like do things to them.
To
That's
each
just
their
weird.
own, but like
But to each
as
their
an
own.
example, it is something that is not a feminine thing to do because you have feet. You should take care of them. And like, especially like
I
as you
agree.
age, when you get like diabetes and things like that, like it is a huge healthy habit to make sure that all of that's taken care of
Yeah.
because you can't feel things like in your extremities. Like this is just a whole health side of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredibly important. But to make sure that we're teaching, of course, business leaders that maybe are of these, generations, but either yours or mine, making sure for me as a mom that I am teaching my son just to be an empathetic human versus a manly man.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to teach those I can't even say the word.
Misogynistic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Types
I
of
can't say
traits.
cellular very well. I have to really think about
Cellular. See,
cellular.
I got that one. Oh gosh.
Go ahead.
So I want to make sure that I'm doing my part, of course, for my son, but then I've caught myself too. And I'm like, wow, if I really sit back and think about it, what am I contributing to the not great side of all of this? My dog apologizes for barking. The
Yep.
mailman is outside. But when I do see another male act in a certain way or display emotion in a certain way, the immediate thought process that I think has been ingrained in me, because I'm not a spring chicken anymore, is, oh, he must be gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Like, so that was like something as I was thinking about this, like before we got on here, I was like, holy crap, I am actually adding to toxic masculinity by that thought process that immediately pops into my head when I see something out of behavior
Right.
for a man.
Right.
I was like, holy shnikes, I don't want to be that person. I don't feel like I am in any way homophobic or like
But you're
I really
mindful.
am not.
You're mindful of that bias.
But I
And
caught myself
yeah.
having that thought and I was like, holy shnikes, that actually, I think it's a learned trait. It's a learned thought process. And so that just kind of came to my consciousness. I was like, dang, I can do better. I can do better.
There was another thing that maybe the universe prepped me for this. So I was away for a while, visiting my grandson and my daughter and family back in Pennsylvania. And I came back on Monday. And I flew from the Allentown Bethlehem Easton Airport to Los Angeles. So I bought an air ticket, and I suspected that the air ticket, which took me from Philly to LA, the Allentown leg, I suspected when it said the landline company, I said, okay, they're going to be putting me on a bus. I know that sometimes they run people from this small airport on a bus to Newark and I suppose to Philly. So I said, okay, that's not too bad. We had our normal traffic problems that slowed us down a little, but we were still about an hour, I think an hour, 4 minutes before my flight was to take off. So we got there and we got to a gate, not like the gate where you board the plane, but a gate outside, the big metal fenced off areas that are secure at the airport. We got there and there was a truck in front of us, like one of those food trucks that loads the food onto the plane. Mm-hmm. And after a few minutes, I noticed we weren't moving. And about 10 minutes into it, what's going on? Well, the truck's broken down in front of us and it's blocking our access. So they're debating how in the world to either back up our bus or go in the exit, but they wouldn't let them do that. So they said, you have to go to a different gate, which was a journey around the airport onto the surface roads again. Now we're eating up a lot of time. We finally get to the next entry point and they say, no, your bus, you can't come in here. You got to go back to B1. They said, the driver said, this is where they sent us. There's a broken down vehicle. Well, you got to go back there. He said, there's people on this bus that are going to miss their flights. What? I got up. I started pacing like a caged animal. I texted Alma. I said, I'm about to get arrested here. Because this is basically you're on a bus, but they're going to treat you like you're on an airplane. You can't
Right.
lose your shit. But I was really on the edge of losing my shit. And I was standing there and people are looking at me. A lot of people are grumbling. And there's one other gentleman at the front who's jawing a little bit. I'm like 6 rows back. And I'm like, why are we not moving? And I'm trying to yell loud enough so the bozos outside can hear, maybe be pressured to do something. And I was mindful of the fact that it was probably obnoxious and people are saying, what is this crazy old man doing? What is he up to? Um, and I was mindful that I was really right on the edge, but my flight had already begun to board.
Yep.
Not begun to board. No, I think it did. I think it was like 4 minutes now. It had already been boarding, and we're not even in the perimeter of the airport
Oh
yet.
my gosh.
So we finally get clearance to go through this damn gate, and I've never really paid attention to this, but we're on effectively the runway behind where all the planes are outside
Right.
on this little marked off area. There's 2 lanes where I guess vehicles can go, which includes those baggage trucks. Some baggage truck stops in front of us and just stops. That means there's nothing around.
Just
I
because.
say to the bus driver, go around. I can't. I'm not allowed to go out of this lane. I push him out of the way, run him over. He's texting. He's not moving.
Right.
We have to go all the way to F and I have to come back to A. So I'm looking at I said, that's my plane right there. And you're going to take me all the way to F. And I still have to get from there to terminal A. And now it's been boarding for like 10 minutes. I'm down to like 26 minutes till it leaves. And that's,
Hightail
they're
it.
going to close the
Mhm.
door. So they're not going to let you, right up there to the.
Right.
And I was just losing my shit. I was so agitated. I knew I was agitated. I wasn't happy about it, expressing it. I was like uncontrollable. And I think a lot of that comes from being raised as a man, toxic masculinity in part. I was reading here. Now I can't find it. It's up on the screen, but basically men are raised to be in control and fix things, right?
Right.
So it's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm not sitting here passively. I'm getting home. I've been gone for 20 days. Damn it. I'm getting home. Am and I are both meeting up at LAX. They're letting me the hell out. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
put as much pressure on them as possible to make it uncomfortable for them. Of course, that didn't really influence anybody. And
It
sometimes I think
doesn't.
the universe is like saying, look, see, you were such an asshole and everything worked out fine. You shouldn't be that way. And then I say, no, see, I don't really care because it worked out that way because I was an asshole. That's anyway.
Okay.
So
So a
I was
little bit
losing it.
of
And I
that
think that's yeah,
masculinity.
I think that's a
Yeah.
masculine stuff in me.
That is some masculine stuff because if I were in the same situation, which I have been, not on a bus trying to get myself to a gate, but knowing that I don't have much time, I really need to be somewhere, and the things that are happening in front of me are absolute nonsense. And if people could start to think of things in a different way and think outside of the way that their one little tunnel is,
Yeah.
what could we do? And so it's like, okay, what could you do to get this truck to stop, get out of the
Right.
way? Who can you call? Who is in charge? Don't take no for an answer. Think of a different way. And so I would, in those same situations, I will negotiate with people like, well, what else could we do? And they're like, well, there's nothing. There's always something. So what is it that we could bring to the table? Who could go talk to that guy that is in the truck in front of us? Who could call the baggage person in front of you? They all have walkie talkies. They
I
are
was
all
like,
connected.
just run him over, push him out of the way,
Yeah,
get him the hell
probably
out of
no.
here.
I would never, never
Go
think
around him. There's another lane. There's nobody there.
going around him and just be like, hi, I am asking for clearance to go around
Blow
this
the
field. Just start
horn.
going. What are they going to do? Tell you no? There's always a way. So I'm
Yeah, I
glad that
know.
you actually made it home because I know that you were gone for a really long time.
Yeah, but that
But
that for me was the
that was
example
something
too.
taught to you. And then, of course, hormonally, just as a man, you are, or like the testosterone starts to go. And then if you are taught in those moments, it's a grooming type of a thing, you will make you will, I don't want to say overpower,
Yeah, force. I'm trying to,
and force
force
yourself. I'm
my
choking on my spit.
impose my will or something.
Right. And so, like we were talking about, like the differences between men and women and how you are to be very masculine and I am supposed to be diminutive, small, whatever. It still exists within me when you were like, if you were in that type of situation, and I would pull back because
Yeah.
I am not the stronger of the two.
Right.
My mind power might be there, but my physical attributes are not there. And you could very quickly overpower me. We're, not that much difference in size. I'm
Yeah,
a
I was gonna say
very
you're probably
big,
within an inch
I'm
of
a
me, if not closer,
big girl.
of height.
I'm very tall.
Yeah.
And so like that way, yeah, but you could probably push me with your finger and I'd smoosh
I don't know.
because
I've
that's
seen your
just
shoulders, Kate.
I
She's
work
being
out.
very
It's fine.
modest, everybody.
No, but that doesn't just because I have definition doesn't necessarily mean physical strength.
I get it.
Yes, I can pick some things up. Yes, most certainly leaps and bounds from where I was before. But just kind of looking at that, I immediately would identify you in that moment, not to like, because you just told this great story, but I would pull back. If I were
Yeah.
that bus driver, I'd be like, where's my nearest exit? Where can I hit him that hurts?
Yep.
Like, this guy's lost his mind.
Yeah. I
He's
mean, I
lost his
wasn't
mind.
screaming yet. I was like talking really loudly, but I said to somebody, I said, well, this is about as good as I do. There's no blood on the floor. So this is about as good as I do right now in this mood. But I can literally feel the chemicals flow. It's like
Yeah.
the tension. I mean, my hands, and I know I'm at least more aware that I'm doing it. And now I don't really blame, I think I've evolved slightly in that I don't blame people. I knew I should not have behaved that way. I knew if I was some big famous person, podcaster, right? John Stewart, people would say, look, I got a video of
Maybe.
John Stewart acting
Probably
like an
would be on a
asshole
bus.
on a bus, that would be, maybe that would force me to behave being rich and famous. But in that moment, I didn't really care. And,
Yeah, you had a destination somewhere. So one of the things that I have learned, something that I teach in our habits of health, and really just starting to become more consciously aware of your behaviors and how that really throws you into these different types of situations. Questions maybe that you could ask yourself in those moments where you start to feel the juices because you feel that coming through you and be like, okay, I need to take a breath because I'm going to, otherwise, you do start becoming that caged animal. What can I change of this situation? Not much. You're not the
yeah,
driver. You're not in charge of security. If you are to miss your plane, is there another plane? Could you call your wife and be like, babe, I'm late because of these types of things that are completely out of your control? What can I control in this situation? Well, the answer is me.
yeah,
So am I going to react to the situation? Or am I going to respond in a better way? And so maybe that response next time if you're stuck on a, stinking bus trying to get where you're trying to get is asking that driver, hey, what could we do?
yeah.
What would be the better option? Just sitting here and waiting is not helping anybody. So what is it that we can
Yeah,
do?
the
Get
guy
their
in
brain
row
start to
row
flowing.
one was doing that. It wasn't getting me the satisfactory response.
We
So,
think that
and
that's
everybody else
natural.
behind me was all complaining to each other. But
Yeah.
again, there really wasn't anything we could do. I know there's good reason that there's requirements that
Right.
these buses
It's
that
somebody
are
messed it
are
up. So
acting as
yep.
planes don't just drive anywhere. These are active runways. There's lots of rules around. I get that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at least I would have been on the horn saying, baggage claim
Yes.
truck jockey out of
Move
the
it.
way. Just
Yeah.
move somewhere. You don't have to sit right there. And all he did was after about texting for about a minute, then he turned left. I don't know.
Beautiful.
There was probably had somebody taxiing, in his left turn, so he stopped there, oblivious or didn't care there was a bus. These are Philly. If you've ever been to Philadelphia, probably the airport that you have to wait the longest for your luggage. They just don't care, it
Really?
seems
That's
there.
weird.
I've waited an hour
Maybe they
there,
just,
so I
well,
think
I
it's in the
always have that
water.
that fast speed where I want things done. I want things done now. I want them done efficiently. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Get it done. Get it done. Get it done. Get it done. That's a whole East Side. But I think you've said that about me. You're like, you're very East Coast. I
Oh yeah,
am. I
you
want
you
things.
could definitely be East
I could,
Coast.
yeah, I could get an accent and everything. I think it would be fine. But
Yeah.
so, like, thinking about the masculinity and toxic masculinity and taking all of the things that we've talked about, how is it that we can create change for better or be the better and identify those times where we're not? How do we start that conversation with people? What do you think about that?
Well, that's a good one. I think you and I both know, and I think more and more people know, you can't change anybody other than yourself. So, but what you can do, you said something earlier about your little revelation. You see somebody acting a certain way, and it's like, well, that person must be gay. And I think normalizing to something that people don't normally see, like an older man. I think you see a lot of guys wearing bracelets like this now. It's not such a thing, but 30 years ago, probably not. But, I started wearing the earring because I like to wear my earring. I don't exactly know why. I just do. It's my brand. It's my identity. Kind of normalizing things that are a little bit outside of what you'd see, and people seeing somebody that, now wait, that image is throwing me off a little. Whether that's an image or whether that's us speaking and behaving a certain way, and say, well, that's somebody who I consider very masculine, has a masculine voice, right? But is exhibiting or comfortable exhibiting feminine traits, what I would consider feminine traits. I think normalizing and showing people that it's not like a binary masculine feminine thing, that men that are masculine, heterosexual, etc. And I'm not saying, gay men aren't necessarily exhibiting masculine traits either, but everybody who puts that stereotype out, when they see some pitches to the left or the right, they might say, okay, well, that's not that unusual after all. And I'm not going to judge, and I'm not going to treat people differently just right away based on one small thing I see. So that was my first thought.
Yeah, I think too, like if you sit back and you think about how things are even marketed to people, all like everything in our life is advertisements. Everything that we do, we have some type of advertisement that either wants us to have it or not have it. And like as you're saying this, and as you have, you have an earring, you have a bracelet, you dress well, that doesn't mean that you're not masculine in any
I
way,
have
shape,
turned
or form.
I have turned some heads in San Francisco, let me tell you. And
I
those are
am sure
men.
that you, yes, I have children walking in the house, and we talked about how this could happen. We
Yeah.
do some real life here.
That's okay. This is us.
So this is what we do, and it is what it is. So I'm going to answer this question for this child. Yes, dear. You may play with everybody. Do you have your phone off of silent? Fantastic. Where are you going?
Nice.
Okay, sounds good. So the boy gang in my neighborhood, complete side note, because we're going to get back to this whole thing. But here's the masculine boys. Okay, there's a group of 7 of them.
Right.
And they just are bros. They're bruh.
Yeah.
I hear bruh anymore, I lose
Yeah.
my mind. But they are such a great group of friends, and they go and they play and they do things, and I just absolutely adore them. So they walk home from school together, they drop off the stuff. Everybody knows that they're together. Us parents are all friends. I think it's wonderful. Anyway, so back to the advertising of the differences between feminine and masculine. We have deodorant aisles and soap aisles and all of that in our stores, right?
Yep.
Why is it that the marketing is pink and pretty and florally for the girls, and for men it's like chains and gray and black
flannel
and
or
what is that we are doing? Does it really spark a difference in the sexes and in the brain, or is that something that's taught to us and we're just accepting of it?
I don't know. It
like,
sure seems. I think it starts at an early age when gender reveal parties are blue and pink, and
yeah, that's a new weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's weird.
So one of the visits I made during my time in Phoenix, an existing customer of ours, I Googled them just a day or two before I went out. Company I didn't know anything about, and they are a manufacturer of ammunition loading equipment.
Okay.
Now, I say this sometimes: Derringer's a handgun.
Right.
The gun's in the name, not in the heart. I'm not a gun aficionado. I'm not taking all the guns away from people. I believe in, some rights of people to have guns. I also believe in the whole well-regulated part, which I generally abhor all the gun violence, particularly in schools, and would like to see us have common sense solutions and discussions around them. So for me to go into a place where there's a guy who comes out from the back to greet us, and he's got a handgun stuffed into the front of his pants under his belt, I'm like, man, does he not have? Is that an extension of him in that place? how telling is that? You know, this is my
Mhm.
manhood here. Look, hard and metal. I mean, that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, ugh, this just disgusts me. Now the gentleman met me, you know, really nice guy. Met with another. They're all really nice guys. Just trying not to be like the gun nuts. They're crazy. You know, there's a lot of super responsible gun owners. So, um, but it was still really painful for me because this is just not something. I do not have a gun fetish. Like I said, the gun's in the name, not in the heart. We went back and did a tour, and they have a calendar, and the calendar is like swimsuit clad women with big weapons.
Okay.
And I said, wow. So Stacy was with me, said, well, they probably wouldn't like, I had my shirt on the night before when I traveled, drink water, fight racism, empower women when I traveled. And it gets a lot of attention and a fair amount of likes when I'm traveling. And she says, well, they probably don't empower women. And I'm watching a woman working in the factory with one of those calendars right there. And I'm like, God, that is just toxic masculinity off the charts for me. And I said, well, I guess to them, it's probably, look, what could be more powerful than a half naked woman with a AK-47? Look at all that power she's got. That's what I'm thinking. They're thinking. I don't know. I didn't go there, but that kind of stuff, like pinup models with weapons, like big ass
Weird.
assault weapons or whatever you call them. It's just, that whole way of thinking, that's to me is an offshoot of this whole toxic masculinity,
Yeah.
raving mad gun culture. And then I saw
Yeah.
something where these two scumbag rich people killed a 2-year-old elephant, trophy hunting. I just so want to put them, on the ground and hold them up. And, that's the violent side of
Well,
me.
once again, Robert, definitely not something
I want
to
to take a picture with I want to take a picture with me and two trophy hunters and say,
not gonna solve
the animal shot
anything.
back, damn it.
No,
Surprise,
they
surprise.
didn't. They didn't.
Anyway,
Well, I just definitely feel like as that story kind of progressed, as I'm hearing different bits and pieces of my thoughts behind them all, really not judging a book by the cover. Just like you don't want to be judged for your earring or your bracelet. The man with the gun in his pants. Yeah, at first your immediate gut jerk reaction is why is that a thing? Well, it's
yeah,
something that you don't understand. And for them, maybe that is something in their area, their culture, their upbringing, that is just incredibly normal. They wouldn't think twice
right.
about seeing that. Versus like where I grew up in a household where my father was a police officer. Guns were everywhere.
Oh yeah,
Now,
yeah,
mind you, they were in safe places. They were completely locked up. I was taught gun safety from a very young age. I did not touch
right.
unless my dad was there to show me. Um, so all of that is so incredibly ingrained that never in a million years would I touch a gun without being safe because I was taught correctly.
Right.
Because I came from a man
Yep.
who literally taught Boy Scouts gun
Yeah.
safety. Like this, what he did in his spare time was to teach and educate and have people understand that bearing arms, which he firm believer,
Yep.
his amendment rights, not to go kill people and not to promote violence, but
Right.
as it for him was he built guns, he loaded ammunition, he made all of his own stuff. So the basement was constantly loading ammunition. I didn't know any different. I didn't
Right.
understand that,
Well,
could have a negative effect.
my grandfather was a hunter.
Yeah, he was a
Every
hunter,
winter
all
he'd
of
go
it.
out and go hunt deer, and um, I think it was mostly to get away from my grandmother and be
But
out with the
sometimes,
boys in
yeah,
a
early
cabin.
morning time is to be quiet and do that kind of stuff. But like my dad was a hunter, but we ate the meat.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't just to go kill something, it was actually because we're providing for the family. And that's pretty much how I was raised.
Yep. Sport hunting to me is like, that's just, the big game sport hunting where you pay huge amounts of money to go kill a defenseless
I don't
animal.
personally understand that. I do understand, making sure that we don't have an overrunning of like deer.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a reason
deer
there
are
is a
like,
deer season
yeah,
because they're
you just don't
everywhere,
have
especially
natural
in our area.
predators in most
Right.
areas where
So
we
we
live.
have to make sure that it helps them as well.
Yeah.
I'm not a hunter. I don't understand all the ins and outs of all of the things, but I also don't understand that Doesn't mean that I can't sit down with somebody and be like, okay, why is it that that's important to you? Why do you feel that this is a thing? Where does that come from? Is that something that was taught to you? Is this a generational thing? Or are you a lunatic that just likes to kill things? Because
Yeah.
there's all brands. So, but when you started talking about seeing the calendar of a scantily clad woman holding the objectifying women in that way, I guess, that's a sex sells kind of a thing,
Yep.
or incredibly toxic to me. I can understand somebody thinking that that's a beautiful thing. Maybe the girls that were posing for them thought it was neat. I don't know. I haven't interviewed them, talked to them. Me personally walking into a situation like that, once again, female, I see these things. I will take care of me and
Yeah.
be like, and where are my safety zones?
Right.
How do I take care of myself? Because if this is the kind of thing that they think is okay in a workplace to be seen with female workers, what does that mean for me? And what do you think of me? And am I
Yeah.
below you as a person? That's
You,
that's where my brain
yeah.
goes.
You kind of have to wonder. Obviously, I'm not going to have that discussion with somebody I just met in their
Right.
facility. You know, it's a
Yeah, me
customer who
neither.
buys products from us, and I'm there to assist them and not, to not try to have any discussions like this. But for me, it was another example, though. Look, I'd love to have another conversation with you. I think we're running out of time on this one,
Yeah,
but I
we are.
would like to have a conversation because how does a man express to a woman that they find them attractive, or can men be attracted to women these days? I think some people have questions about that, right?
Oh, I think this is a
Um,
wonderful topic that we
yeah,
will not start today because
you know, be,
that's a whole
but
chunk.
but for sure, finding somebody attractive or sexy or whatever you want to call it doesn't give you the right to hit on them. No is no. You don't have a right as a man to that woman's body, and that's a big area where you don't cross a line for me. But I think it's naturally healthy that people can find other people attractive, and that
Oh,
men
yes.
to women, women to men, and I know there's men who find men attractive and women who find women
Right.
attractive, and um, people who
Well, as
don't
humans, we're just
necessarily
meant to
identify
be.
with a gender, I'm sure have find maybe just everybody
You find
generally
people
attractive.
attractive. Yes, exactly. So I think this is a great topic for us to talk about in the future for sure. So let's write that one down.
Yeah,
Um, but definitely kind of wrapping up this whole part of toxic masculinity. I don't know how we really can make too much of a difference other than we just start talking and understanding people.
right.
I think humaning at a higher level is something that we keep talking about that I
Yep.
say, but
And
I
I
think that
always
that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, and I always say incrementally better. So this podcast discussions we have in the moment, I think it's the in the moment discussions that are the most important. Uh,
Yeah.
when somebody's exhibiting a trait that they might need to be called in or out, it would benefit them, or at least the others in the room would benefit from somebody exhibiting toxic masculine traits around others, especially women. I think it's good to call it out. And even when it's a room full of guys and it's so-called locker room talk, that's just not
Right.
cool. It's not funny
It's not cool.
because the women aren't here. It's not funny no matter what, you know.
Mhm.
That doesn't
Yep.
make me a sissy or anything.
You are not any of those words that might have 5 letters that start with a lot of different
No.
letters of the
And
alphabet.
I'll
You're
do more
uniquely
push-ups than
awesome.
almost any of those guys.
And there's the
Drop and give me
competition
drop
side.
and give me 40, damn it.
Competition of the masculine side
I
of
know.
life. Oh my gosh, I think it's really fun. Well, this has been a good discussion. I can't wait for the next one. I appreciate you, Robert.
Yep. Thanks, Kate. So we'll see you in a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye now.